Hi guys, today's video is going to be on the Mcfarlane Collector Edition number 25 Christopher Reeve Superman the Movie 1978 figure. The retail price is around $29.99 and I did purchase this with my own money. This figure is based on Christopher Reeve and the first Superman movie that was released in 1978. This is the front of the box. And here is the side. It says number 25. The other side says Mcfarlane Collector Edition Superman the Movie 1978. On the bottom is the UPC for anybody that needs it. And on the back we have a nice picture of Christopher Reeve standing in front of an American flag. I was lucky enough to get the Platinum Edition, and this is supposed to be the evil version of Superman. You can see he has a different color story, and he does have an alternate head with heat vision eyes. Other than that, everything looks the same. I'll hold them up side by side. All right, and now we're going to go ahead and open it up. Okay, that's what he looks like in the plastic. And then on the cardboard insert, he does come with his card and flight stand. We do get 4 sets of extra hands with him. Here is the first set. It has a pointing finger, and this one has a sunstone crystal in it. If anybody has like a custom built Fortress of Solitude, this would be great to use for your display. We also have a set of holding hands. And it's interesting that we got a set of holding hands with this Superman. Normally we just get fist and maybe flight hands with the Superman figures. The only 2 weapons that I can think of that Mcfarlane has made for Superman are these 2. And I will include some B-roll footage at the end of towards the end of the video showing what this Christopher Reeve figure looks like holding both of these, so you guys can, you know, see what that looks like. Then our third set of hands are kind of like a gripping hand, and then this semi-open hand here. And the 4th set are going to be the flight hands. These flight hands actually look a bit bloated in the middle. I don't remember any of my other Supermans having such bloated looking flight hands, so I just kind of wanted to mention that. Okay, we do have an extra head, and this is the same head that comes on the Platinum Edition, which is the evil version. He does have the 5 o'clock shadow. I would have much rather had another Superman head besides this one. This one to me looks the least like Christopher Reeve out of the 2 that you get. I would have probably preferred to have had one that was like snarling or maybe like angry, so I could put him in a fighting scene or display him in a fight scene, or even one that was smiling, so like I could do a custom Clark Kent to put beside him. I would have much rather had one of those than, you know, the 2 heads that look similar. Moving on to the card. This is the character card. You get a nice picture of Christopher Reeve there. Then we have the flight stand which is the typical flight stand. Like I've mentioned in my videos before, I don't like these flight stands because there's no screw here where you can loosen and tighten it. So when this section gives out, which it will over time, it won't hold up anything at all and it'll be useless. So I think he needs to revamp these. Okay, moving on to the figure. The figure looks really nice. His head is actually nice too for the price. The only complaint that I have is from certain angles, like straight on like this, he kind of doesn't, I mean, depending on what angle you have his head at, he can look more like Christopher Reeve or less like Christopher Reeve. So that's the only kind of complaint I have, but it is decent for the price of the figure. He does have a wired soft goods cape. The cape does have the logo on the back, which I do like that addition. The wire runs down both sides of the cape. And again, it's personal preference. Depending on how you display him, it can cause some sag in the middle of the cape. So just my personal preference, I would have rather maybe have it down at the bottom. That way, if you wanted to, even putting him to fly, it still kind of sags. But if you wanted to display him on the flight stand, it would, I think it would look better. But again, personal preference. He does have a molded logo on his chest. And his belt is molded onto his diaper. So are the belt loops. His boots have very nice detail on them. I'll show you guys. Very nice detail. His body, I think they got his body right. They really did capture Christopher Reeve from the movie. Christopher Reeve is not overly bulky. And this guy is not either. He has, he's still muscular, but, also kind of thin at the same time. So I think they did a really good job. I feel like he does match the picture that's on the card and on the back of the box. Moving down to his wrist. I did want to mention a few things about this wrist joint. If you look, and I'm going to grab the Rebirth Superman here. The Rebirth Superman is a bulkier, more muscular Superman. And if you notice, his wrist joints here are hidden in the sleeve right here. So he cannot do the 90-degree bend with his wrist. And he can't bend it down very far either. Because this wrist joint is further down into that sleeve. So he doesn't have very good wrist articulation. And then with the Henry Cavill Superman, you can see that he is muscular. He's more muscular than the Christopher Reeve one, but not as muscular as the Rebirth. And his wrist joints, at the bottom here, you can see that they do stick out past the sleeve. So he is able to move his wrist all the way down this way. But because the sleeve cap right here comes down over that wrist joint, he's not able to do the 90-degree bend with his hand. Okay. So I think Mcfarlane may have done the wrist joints like this because he has better articulation. He can do, bend his wrist up 90 degrees and also down and all the way around. So this one, doing the wrist joint this way allows better wrist articulation. So if you were looking at articulation wise, this is not so good with the Rebirth. Then with the Henry Cavill, it's somewhat okay, but then it's really good with the Christopher Reeve one. I also did want to mention this Flash. The reason why I have him here is because he's more of a slendered body figure. And the Christopher Reeve is a more slendered body figure. And if you notice, the wrist joints do stick out past his sleeve as well to allow him to have that 90-degree bend in his wrist. So I think also maybe because he's thinner bodied, he kind of just modeled the wrist joints off of his thinner bodied figures like this Flash. So I did also want to mention that. Nobody really knows except for Mcfarlane why he chose to do the wrist joints this way, but that's what I think why he did it this way. Also, what I did notice is that there is mold defects in the body. So I did want to show you guys. On the torso here, you can see the lines and the little circle things in there, the circle patterns. And this same circle pattern and lines is also on the platinum version. Let's see if I can show you guys without catching the lights, but it's the same exact circle pattern and lines in his abdomen as well. Also, I did notice on the chest emblem, there are tiny pinholes in the paint. Get my camera to focus. All right, see right there? You can see the tiny pinholes under the paint. So yeah, that's a defect as well. As far as the rest of his articulations go, this is as far as he can look down. This is as far as he can look up. This is the maximum bend for his arm. This is the maximum bend for his knee. His torso does twist 360. So he does have the standard Mcfarlane articulation. This Superman is definitely one of my favorites. Henry Cavill also being a favorite in my collection. These are my top two. I think, you know, he looks really, really good. And that could just be my nostalgia talking. But, you know, for the price point and everything, I really think that, you know, Mcfarlane did a really decent job on him. And, you know, I am glad that I do have him in my collection. So, have any of you guys picked him up? Do you plan on adding him to your collection? Let me know down in the comments. That's going to wrap up today's video. Thank you for watching, and see you guys in my next video.